And some things that should not have been forgotten were lost.
Welcome back, friends, to the Quinta Accords. Today is going to be part 2 to my previous video on the two lamps, Illuin and Ormal, and the two ice giants of Uranus and Neptune. While Greek mythology provides significant linguistic matches to Tolkien Legendarium, it is Norse mythology, in this instance, that best supports the theory. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, when in doubt, always follow your nose. Far back, in the days before days, upon the lands of Arda, there were two lamps wrought by Aule at the request of Yavanna. These lamps were so vital to the well-being of Arda, so much so that the time period these lamps shone light was called the Years of the Lamps. And the Valar had lived upon their first habitation of Almaren, the isle upon the Great Lake of Middle-earth. During this time, which was called the Spring of Arda, also, there was a light called Illuin in the far north. It means sky blue in Quenya. It sat upon the ice pillar of Helkar. While in the far south, there was a light called Ormal. Its name means high gold, and it sat upon the ice pillar of Ringil. And so it is said from the Silmarillion.
But wealth there was, of Yavanna's imagining, and nor more rich than in the midmost parts of the earth, where the light of both the lamps met and blended. And there upon the isle of Almaren, in the Great Lake, was the first dwelling of the Valar.
If you have some knowledge on the various mythologies of our world, how can you not be reminded of Norse mythology when reading those lines? Where the light of both the lamps met and blended is synonymous with, and when the rime and the blowing of the warmth met so that it thawed and dripped. From the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson, who serves as a major source of content for Norse mythology.
History became legend. Legend became myth.
The Norse cosmogony story runs parallel to Tolkien's vision of the Spring of Arda and Years of the Lamps, and so I'll share with you the Prose Edda, written by Snorri Sturluson, aka Aristor, the chief counselor and lore master of Rivendell, for Elrond. Snorri, or Snera, is Old Norse for onslaught, while Aristor is Quenya, meaning high steadfast. He wrote the saga of Harald Hardrada in the Heimskringla, which tells the story of Harald Hardrada, the king of Norway. His story echoes the deeds done by the infamous High King, Aragorn II, in The Lord of the Rings. Hardrada comes from Old Norse as severe ruler, while Aragorn comes from Tolkien's Sindarin as revered king. Recognize the similarities? Perhaps Sigurdsson and Strider may help. Anyways, back to the theory at hand. Here's a Norse cosmogony story from the Prose Edda, Gylfaginning.
It was at the beginning of time, when nothing was. Sand was not, nor sea, nor cool waves. Earth did not exist, nor heaven on high. The mighty cap was, but no growth. Then spoke just as high. It was many ages before the earth was created that Niflheim was made. And in its midst lies a spring called Vergomir, and from it flows the rivers called Svol, Guntra, Fjord, Fimbulful, Slidr and Hrid, Silg and Ilg, Vid in Leiter, the Ol is next to Hell Gates.
Niflheim comes from Old Norse as Mist Home. There beyond Karadras, Boreas and the North Wind lay the mountains that straddled the far north of Middle-earth, the Scandinavian mountains that approach the Arctic Circle. Beyond the misty mountains and to the north resided Melkor and his realm of Utumno at Hell Gates and Hyperborea.
Then spoke third, but there was a golden and southern region called Muspel. It is bright and hot. That area is flaming and burning, and is impassable for those that are foreigners there, and not native to it.
Muspelheim comes from Old Norse as world-destroying land, a land wrought with volcanoes. Here was the dark lands of Lemuria, an ancient supercontinent that spanned Antarctica, Zealandia, Australia, and India. Even farther back, it was Gondwana, with Central Africa, Southern Africa, and South America attached to it.
There is one called Surt that is stationed there at the frontier to defend the land. He has a flaming sword. At the end of the world, he will go and wage war and defeat all the gods and burn the whole world with fire.
This is Sauron and his volcanic fauna of Artano, the High Smith. His flaming sword is a liquid lava that erupts from the bowels of the earth. This end of the world scenario is the Third Age War of the Ring, when Sauron brought the lands of Mordor with fire and flame from Mount Doom.
Thus it says in Velespa, Surt charges from the south with the stick destroyer, fire. Shines from his sword the son of the gods of the slain. Rock cliffs crash and troll wives are abroad. Heroes showed the road of hell and heaven splits. Gandleri spoke. What were things like before generations came to be and the human race multiplied? Then spoke High. These rivers which were called Kalivagar, when they had got so far from their source that the poisonous flow that accompanied them began to go hard with the clinker that comes from the furnace. It turned to ice. Now when this ice came to a halt and stopped flowing, the vapor that was rising from the poison frozen atop in the same direction and turned to rime. And this rime increased layer upon layer right across Ginnungagap. Then spoke just as High. Ginnungagap, the part that faces in a northerly direction, was filled with the weight and heaviness of ice and rime, and there is vapor and a blowing in from it. But the southerly part of Ginnungagap cleared up in the face of the sparks and molten particles that came flying out of the world of Muspel.
Notice the trend here? How Snorri is referring to the north of Niflheim and the south of Muspel, and how they mirror Illuin on Helkar and Ormal on Ringil. Wait till you hear this.
Then spoke Third. Just as from Niflheim there arose coldness and all things grim, so what was facing coast and Muspel was hot and bright. But Ginnungagap was as mild as a wind in the sky. And when the rime and the blowing of the warmth met, so that it thawed and dripped, there was a quickening from these flowing drips due to the power of the source of the heat, and it became the form of a man. And he was given the name Gimir, but the frost giants call him Orgomir, and from him are descended the generations of frost giants.
I cannot stress how significant this meeting and blending of the lights, rime and warmth, is. Here is Tolkien's version.
One lamp that raised near to the north of Middle-earth, and it was named Illuin, and the other was raised in the south, and it was named Ormal, and the light of the lamps of the Valar flowed out over the earth, so they're always lit as it were in a changeless day. Really later on, but what there was of Yavanna's imagining, and nowhere more rich than the inmost parts of the earth, where the light of both the lamps met and blended. And there upon the Isle of Amaran, in the Great Lake, was the first dwelling of the Valar, when all things were young and new made green, was yet a marvel in the eyes of the makers, and they were long content.
And from where do the Valar originate from? From the mine of Eru, or in Snorri's lore, from the frost giant of Ymir. There upon the Great Lake of Ginnungagap, the Isle of Almaren, is Eru, and Ymir's creation. The Valar, the natures of our world that share their realms with us, bear the realms for us, and maintain the world for us to live in. Truly remarkable. And so that's the Quenta of the two lamps, Illuin and Ormal, and the two realms of Niflheim and Muspelheim. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video and would like to share in the light of both the lamps, leave a like and subscribe.
Down from the doorway.